Everybody, welcome back to another video. So in today's video I'm going to be explaining a part of the general settings that is present in the fractals. So this is going to be a starting of a new playlist inside the RCG YouTube channel. So in this video I'm going to be explaining a part that is present in the graph settings, which is the linear graph settings and the general settings. So this video is going to be basically, this whole playlist is going to be divided into 5 sections, where in the first video, which is this one, I'm going to be explaining the general settings and the linear graph settings. Then in the second one, the pivot graph settings and the macro trend. Then the third one, wave analysis and the bullish slash bearish basically filters. And then the fourth one where I just explain the markers, and then the fifth one where I explain the cycle analysis and the imprint bands. Starting on, we have the first option, which is the show options in the general settings. We click on it, we basically get the option to just reload our graph to basically load the data that is present in the show options. Okay, great. So basically what this basically is showing us is the open interest that updates once a day at the open inside the fractals. So basically now comes that how are we supposed to analyze the data that is given in here. The peaks you guys see here basically show the market makers interest. Where you do not see the peak basically mean that the market makers are not interested in that area, and we might see like a easy movement through that area, just like the clear area we have, like right here it is clear area, right? So it's showing us that the market makers might not just consider it as an important level, and we just move through that area. So basically we have a resistance according to the show options right here at 536.48, right here at 532.57 area. Basically this can be used as a resistance, and same is for below the pivot, this can be used as a support. Okay, like right here we see that we have a lot of support right here, so we are not going to see easy downside the next coming day. Pretty easy to understand. Okay, then we have the red frequency right here and the green frequency right here. So it's basically showing us that how likely it is for the price to reach that area. Basically, like right here you see that the frequency is flat, right? So it's showing us that after 534.34 it's very less likely for the price to cross it. So basically it becomes an outliner price. Okay, so it becomes a last line of defense. And right here you see that the frequency is pretty normal, just like we have in our odds graph, right? Where you see the frequency going flat means that it's going to be a clear area, it's an outliner area. Like this, it is the same for below the pivot, where you see that the frequency is flat means that it's an outliner area, and the price is not gonna reach there anytime soon. Okay, so that is all that we have for this part right here. Now you guys must be seeing all these red things right here and these green lines right here. So what do they actually mean? We need to be more concerned about these cluster ones that are just clustered right here. I'm going to remove this integrator right here just to show the imprints right here that are given in the green and the red color. Basically, these green clusters you see right here are showing resistance. Where you see that the resistance is strong means that there's going to be a green cluster. Okay, so the green cluster means resistance. The red cluster means support. Here we have a green cluster that is like looking pretty strong because we have no gaps in it, whereas in the red cluster we do have some gaps. So it's showing that for 13th of December 2024 we must have seen some kind of downside too. Okay, because the support is not too strong. You can just go back, if you're watching this video sometime in the future, you can just go back if we had downside or not for that particular day, because that is what I analyzed from looking at this data right here for 13th of December 2024. Okay, so where you see the cluster is more strong, basically that is going to act as a more stronger resistance support, just like that. Okay, then the next thing we have is the midpoint the average call strike and the average put strike, or the average strike put. It's just a very simple concept. Basically, these are outliner levels. Okay, so the midpoint, you can just consider it as a PML that does not move, or a vector that does not move, or a pivot that does not move throughout the day. So you can just consider that it is the middle point of this OI chain that is given right here. Okay, now we have the average strike call. So basically what it means is that if the price is above the average strike call, it means that we are going to see good amount of upside. Okay, so it means that this is an outliner level. If the price breaks it, so the call side can work. If the price breaks the average strike put, then the put side can work. That is all it means. Okay, so this is the importance of this tool right here, that it can just tell you the outliner levels and the likeliness of the price reaching a particular area or a particular price. Okay, so this is very useful. This only updates once a day, because the OI updates just at the open. So at the open you will see that the data is gonna update. Okay, so moving on, we're gonna move to the next feature inside the graph settings. In the general settings, so we're just going to click on it again to just remove it from our graph. Okay, then the next tool we have is the s slash r open up the open state. So basically I already have a video on it, you guys can check it out in the RCG YouTube channel. Basically I'm also gonna put in a link on it in the description so that you guys can find it easily. Okay, I'm going to be explaining the S slash R triangles, average and the longest, and the show statistics. Okay, I'm going to click on both because these two are interrelated. So basically what it is trying to show is that it's trying to show how much time it can take to close that open state. Okay, for example right here, this H10 open state. So it's telling us that on an average it should take 25 15-minute candles to actually close that open state. Okay, and the longest time that the price can take to actually close that open state is going to be 128. 128 aggregations means 128 15-minute candles. Okay, so that is what it is trying to tell us with these triangles. Okay, next thing we have is the statistics. So basically it is very same, we're just trying to show these statistics right here. Basically these triangles data in the statistics form. Okay, above pivot statistics, so basically average number of aggregations of close. So basically what it's trying to tell you is that on an average, how many aggregations can it take for the price to close that open state? And same is for the longest number of aggregation for close, basically 128 aggregations. Same data given right here. Now this is the difficult one, or you can say more different one to understand, considering this statistics given right here. Average number of aggregations above pivot. Basically, it's trying to tell you that on an average, the market forms H10 above the pivot. Okay, so that is all it is trying to tell you, that on an average, when you see a transition, so the market on an average should form H10. So that is all it is trying to tell you. Okay, so basically it's telling you that, for example, you see a squeeze with the green macro and you see the market above the pivot, so it's telling you that we can see H10 value, so you can consider for calls. So that is all, and it can be also used to compare whether the market is bullish or bearish, considering the number of days of data you are looking at. For example, I'm looking at 10, and according to the past 10 days of data, so the average number of aggregations below the pivot were 7. So basically we had L7 as an average, but for above the pivot we had H10. So of course the market was bullish. Okay, so I hope that this was understood to you guys. You can watch it again, rewind it, or you can actually just DM me if you actually do not understand. I just try to make it very very easy for you, because I understand that fractals is pretty difficult for the first timer, but I just tried to make it very easy but I will just suggest one thing, that you just watch the S/R open states video that is already present in the RCG channel. I'm gonna also put in the description as I mentioned earlier. Okay, moving on. Then we're gonna be talking about the bar counts. Basically, this is just doing the same thing as our highs and lows. It's telling that, okay, so how many aggregations did the market actually form above the pivot? For example, here it formed 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, so 10 highs, and then it's also calculating how many highs it did not form. Basically, the highs it did not cross this H10 right here. Okay, so it is also calculating that. So it's just calculating the number of aggregation that is forming above the pivot. Okay, so that is all that is we need to know about the bar counts. Okay, then we have the crosshairs on. Basically, this is the crosshair that we have in the fractals right here. Basically, just does not show the crosshair if we unclick on it. Now I click on it again. I have my crosshair right here. Okay, then we have the hotkeys splash help. Basically, we already have this feature uploaded on the YouTube channel. Okay, you guys can go back and watch it. It's already given in a video that I posted months ago, and I explained it there that how you need to actually use it, the hotkeys feature in the fractals. Okay, then we have the average pullbacks. Now this is pretty easy to understand. I've also mentioned it earlier on my videos too. So it's trying to tell you that approximately what can be the value of the pullback. For example, let's say we see a transition below the pivot, so where can the price actually reach? So according to the fractals, when we see a transition below the pivot, the price can reach the 528.45 price point. So this can be used as a target if you see that, okay, so your bias is bearish and you're looking for a target. It is given right here. Okay, but we need to understand what is given right here too. Red line projected move. However, the H10 has to hold as the top next for the price to get under the vector line for the best setup slash odds of pullback. So what it is trying to tell you is that this H10 needs to hold. So we do not need to see any H12, H13. So this H10 needs to hold, and the price needs to get below the vector. Okay, I have mentioned this before too. If the price is above the vector, it means that the bias is automatically bullish, and the price is below the vector, it means the bias is bearish. Okay, same is for the pivot. Okay, so it's just trying to tell you that a better setup is going to be the one when the price is going to be under the vector line, so that we can actually have higher odds of pullback below the pivot, and then we can eventually reach this target right here. Okay, now the average pullback is given that it's going to be minus 2.70 points, and it actually just took this high right here and just subtracted minus 2.70, and then we got this price right here as our pullback target. Okay, so that is all it is trying to show us. It's just giving us a great target to consider if we are looking for a bearish target. Okay, moving on, we're going to move to a more easier part to understand inside the fractal, that is the linear graph settings that you guys are already looking at in your trading view or TOS or anything else that you are considering right now to trade. Okay, I'm just gonna unclick on it, then I'm gonna click on linear graph, and I'm gonna just turn off the fractal candles. So we have the linear graph right here shown in the dots form. So basically we can actually change that to a candlestick too. So now the linear data that you can actually see on your trading view or TOS just given right here inside the fractal 2. Okay, then we're gonna click on the analysis visible, and then we're going to move to the dot. So basically this is the more interesting part that is present with the analysis visible feature inside the linear graph. Basically it just tells us a probable range for the price to move in. For example, it just forms a Bollinger cloud. Like, you can just search what that indicator is. It is very similar to that one. So basically it's just forming a type of a range where the price can actually move. And then we also have a vector right here, which is derived from the fractals. Okay, we have explained the vector many times in our videos, and it is very useful. So you guys can just go back in the very early videos and also the introductory videos to actually understand the vector. Okay, so basically we have the range, also the vector inside the fractals with the linear graph too. So basically if you're a linear graph guy and you still want to use the linear graph, it's your choice, but in the fractals too you can make good use of it compared to the other tools like your TradingView or TOS. Okay, in the TOS too, we do have a vector script that you can use, but if you have the fractals, then I will just suggest that you need to just simply move on to this one because this is more accurate, and you also get this probable range for the price to move in, so it's going to be more useful for you. Okay, so this was all that we needed to know about the analysis visible. Then we have the highlight squeeze. Okay, so I've already explained what a squeeze actually does. Basically, it just initiates a explosive move and like a huge volatile move in the markets, like right here. You see the market was in the squeeze, right? And then we saw a huge move above the pivot, right? For example, here we had the squeeze, then we saw a move, a good move, and then here we had the squeeze, then we saw a good move above the pivot. So basically in the linear graph it's just highlighting the squeeze with the yellowish shade. You can just see right here, here too, here too, here too, and you can just see that it only forms when the market is in the squeeze. Okay, so this was all that we needed to know about the highlight squeeze. So this was the first video, and in the next video we're going to be explaining the pivot graph settings and the macro trend. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you understand the concept that is mentioned in this video about the graph settings, and please do like, subscribe and share this video because it means a lot to us and we want to reach the 500 goal of the subscribers. Okay, thank you so much for watching. Have a nice